This portion of Money Matters Boston is brought to you by SHP Financial of New England.
Well, it's a privilege to be joined by former Attorney General Scott Harshbarger. Thanks for joining us on the Money Matters program.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, we can't not have you on the program and avoid talking politics, so let's get right into it. We're in the middle of, the political season right now. We're coming down. It's a fourth quarter, would you say? What are your impressions?
Well, I think it both the races that concern us the most, the presidential race and the U.S. Senate race, and you could even say a couple of congressional races right now, you are in the home stretch. And I think what's going to be interesting, I think the debates are going to make a huge difference here. Because up till now, in a way, both sides on all those levels have had plenty of money. That's not been the issue. Often you worry about, can somebody outspend the other? But there's been so much money, both in terms of super PACs and others. The fact of the matter is people are now for the first time going to have a chance to actually see these folks and make their impressions. Obama and Romney, you already saw some of the impact of Warren and Scott Brown. And I think for the candidates, it's actually very good. They actually get a chance to say what's on their mind. You get a chance to assess them, and particularly where people seem to be so committed already to their positions. This is the only way you're going to have a variable.
Well, how often do you feel people are swayed during these debates? I mean, you have the undecideds with, I wonder, even at this stage, how there are that many undecideds around.
The reason I think debates matter is it is actually the time that if people watch, they actually get to see the people. And part of the calculation has always been that likability or something about that is more likely than anything else to sway people. I mean, people have their views, obviously, about the parties here, but the only thing that will change it is, unfortunately, somebody makes a big mistake, or somebody is very successful. Plus, it's the only way you get to see the real people in real circumstances to judge, is this person you want to be your president or your senator?
During the debates, we actually get some substance, right? The teleprompters are down, the PACs are done, and you get to see the real person behind it. I'm hoping that those independents actually look at the substance versus who looked better that day.
Well, I think that's what is interesting about this race in particular. I mean, I think with Obama, when I say Obama and Romney, if you look at it, I mean, the critique of Mitt Romney is obvious. Which Mitt Romney is going to show up? Now, I say this as a Democrat, so, but I happen to respect very much Mitt Romney in his first 2 years as governor of Massachusetts. Here was a socially moderate, fiscal conservative, bright, energetic, couldn't be bought by anybody, had the Democratic legislature on the run in a one-party state, and then just flipped. Now, so who's coming up here? Obama, on the other hand, who I support, but he has disappointed many of the sort of progressive base out there because basically I think he's a very moderate guy.
The general distrust that the public has towards government, I think it seems like it's got to be at an all-time high. What do you think?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, look at Congress's ratings. Is it 12%, 8%? Often the ratings are favorable, unfavorable. It never is going to be 100% supporting you or otherwise. But these ratings now are at the lowest they've ever been in terms of collectively of Congress. That's how Obama is surviving here compared to Congress. Who do you support in this area? I think part of it is there's huge cynicism, huge apathy. People don't think it matters. They think that, or on the other hand, your ideology is, for better or for worse, many people think that's the only thing that dictates politics. Now, we have some of that in our lobbying efforts in Congress, but I think that's very much the issue that people think that government, and I think the second piece is, because I happen to believe government has a major role to play, the fact that we haven't had the kind of leadership that anybody can describe as courageous, that we haven't had people from both parties who say, look, we have a lot of problems here. Yes, we can disagree ideologically, but we've got to solve the economic problem. We've got to find a way to get jobs. I remember Bob Dole used to say, he said, however, we are elected to legislate. We're not elected just to give speeches. We're elected to get something done. Yeah. And that, I think, we've lost that capacity. That's why you actually see many governors being much more practical. They have to solve the problems. And that's to some extent why you see more success at the state level. And periodically you begin to say, I'm not sure I want federal solutions
Well put.
I'd rather have some good state solutions that make a big difference.
We can't let you go without talking about, some of the issues that are going on right now, in the state, with the drug lab controversy. And what's your impressions there? I mean, is this, are we just scratching the surface?
This drug lab issue is a major crisis in the justice system. It makes the probation scandal, the parole boards, any other government quote-unquote scandal I've seen pale in comparison, because fundamentally, the scientific basis for criminal convictions has been tainted. And if you believe at all, which we have to believe, that people, they may be guilty, but we have to prove it and we have to do it correctly. This is why many prosecutors are leading the charge now. We got to talk about justice.
To get back to those independents out there, how do you trust in your government? That's right. When you're seeing 2,000, in our opinion, convicted felons out on the street.
I think it's a very fair point that you make, and I think that those of us, particularly that believe government can function efficiently and fairly, have a responsibility to make sure that we do that well. And that's why this is both an embarrassment and is very difficult to explain, and why I think that one of the way people are going to judge our leaders here is, are you going to stand up and take responsibility?
Well, I want to thank you so much. As we tell everybody, but we really mean this. Open invite anytime you want to come back on the program.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Well, thank you so much, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more Money Matters Boston in just a minute.